Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Draupadi then fell silent. Stirred by her words, Bhima felt impelled to speak. He too was angry and found living in the forest almost unbearable. It was not the austerity he minded, but the thought of Duryodhana and his brothers enjoying their ill-gotten gains. Why did Yudhishthir suffer in silence? Draupadi was right. It was time for them to act. Bhima burst out. "Oh, Yudhishthir, what do you hope to gain by living like an ascetic? You are not a yogi. You are a king, and you should walk the path of kings. Duryodhana robbed you of your kingdom, but he is like a weak jackal stealing the prey of lions. Why do you tolerate this? How can you abandon the wealth that was both our source of virtue and pleasure in exchange for this trifling virtue which you call keeping your promise? Surely you fail to see what is of true value." Yudhishthir remained calm while Bhima vented his long, pent-up anger. The forest reverberated with his words, his voice as deep and powerful as a kettle drum. "O king, it was only due to your carelessness that we lost our kingdom. Only to please you did we allow Duryodhana and his brothers to seize away from us our wealth and afflict us with such pain. Only on your command we now pain our friends and enliven our enemies. Surely it was folly that we did not kill the Kauravas then and there. Instead, we have meekly come to the forest, an act worthy only of weak men. Why, even Krishna does not approve, neither does Arjuna, the twins, what to speak of myself. O king, has your despair led you to lose your manliness on the plea of virtue? Only cowards cherish despair, being unable to win back that which they have lost. In my opinion, such so-called virtue that produces calamity is not virtue at all. Oh, my brother, what use is virtue for its own sake? Kings should practice virtue to make their kingdoms prosperous and to achieve pleasure. All three things, virtue, profit, and pleasure, should be pursued equally, and none of them should be sought at the cost of the others. Have you lost sight of your proper duty? You are a powerful warrior, supported by other powerful men. Now, use that power to regain your rightful kingdom. When you have established your rule, then you can acquire religious merit by ruling piously and giving charity to the Brahmanas. By giving up this promise to stay in the forest, you will be casting aside an inferior principle for the greater good. At the same time, the Brahmins and the citizens all want you to rule them. They despise Duryodhana utterly. You are capable of taking back your kingdom, and you have Arjuna and myself to assist you. Who can withstand us in battle? So let us strategize and use our strength to win back that which is rightfully ours. This is our duty. Yudhishthir remained silent for some moments as he summoned his patience. Then he looked up at Bhima. O descendant of Bharata, I cannot reproach you for giving me pain with your arrow-like words. It is true that due to my folly, I have brought this calamity upon us. I knew I could not defeat Shakuni at dice, and yet I allowed myself to be drawn into the game. I should have exerted greater control over myself. O Bhimasena, the mind cannot be controlled when it comes under the influence of manliness, pride, and prowess. I do not censure you for what you have said, but I do consider what has happened to be preordained for us. But I must make it clear that I will not break my promise. Do you recall the conditions of the final dice game? When Shakuni said, "He who loses this game shall go to the forest and remain there for 13 years. The winner shall take his kingdom and return it when the forest term has expired." And then I uttered, "So be it." Yudhishthir hung his head and fell silent as he recalled that day. What had overcome him? He had thought he was acting only for virtue, but as a result, all of his loved ones had suffered. Still, he was resolute. No matter how painful their present situation, there was no turning back. He would not abandon his promise. The agreement would be kept. Yudhishthir was firm. How then, O Bhimasena, shall I now falsify my word only for the sake of wealth? To me, nothing is greater than truth. For the respectable person, it is better to die than to transgress one's word. So, let us pass our days here in peace. Better days will come. Just as the farmer scatters seeds and awaits the harvest, in the same way, virtue and truth always bring results, but in time. So do not doubt this principle. Bhima was not convinced. His heart was too full of anger. He had not even been able to sleep since coming to the forest. Neither could he face the prospect of waiting so many years before he could vent his rage on the Kauravas. What virtue had the Kauravas ever observed? So why then should Yudhishthir treat them as honorable? Did he think they respected his virtue and adherence to truth? No, they saw him as weak and were laughing at him. If only Yudhishthir would see sense and order them to gear up for battle. Bhima tried once again to convince Yudhishthir. O great king, how can any mortal make a promise which is dependent on the passage of time? No one knows when his life will end. We have now been in the forest for 13 months. Let that be our 13 years. Indeed, the Vedas state that in certain circumstances, a month can substitute for a year. Let us go now and crush our enemies. Even if we were to go to hell on that day, that hell will feel like heaven. Although only Draupadi and I have revealed our hearts to you on this matter, Arjuna, the twins, Kunti, and our many allies all share the same feelings. Only because they seek to please you do they remain silent. It is only weakness which forces you to adhere to your pledge, my dear brother. But no one is praising you for your kindly disposition toward our enemies. Bhima stood silhouetted by the fire. His huge frame resembled a blazing mountain. O king, although remaining fixed in virtue, still you cannot see the truth, just like an ignorant man who has memorized the Vedas without knowing their meaning. You are a Kshatriya, and yet you want to act like a Brahmin. A king's duties are always fraught with crookedness and cunning. You know this very well. And I have another concern. How will we be able to live incognito for that 13th year? We are well known throughout the world, and Duryodhana has many supporters. Numerous kings who had been subjugated by us at the time of the Rajasuya now back the Kauravas. And Duryodhana will certainly have his spies looking for us everywhere. Bound by your promise, we will be living in this forest forever. Sooner or later, force will be the only way out. So I implore you, please give us the order for battle, O hero. There is no higher duty for the Kshatriya. If there be any sin in this course, then you can counteract it later by sacrifice and charity. Yudhishthir sighed once again, but he did not reply. He considered Bhima to be overcome by passion, and so not thinking carefully. Could he not understand that their suffering had been somehow or other ordained by the Supreme Lord? All they could do now was follow their religious duties as prescribed by God, leaving the results in His hands. They could not please the Lord by abandoning religion, and to please God was always everyone's prime duty. Surely Bhima understood that much. But there was another consideration. Yudhishthir spoke in a calm voice and explained his mind to Bhima. O mighty armed hero, when a man performs sinful deeds depending upon his own power, such deeds become only a source of pain. But if he carefully reflects before acting, he will attain success. Listen as I tell you what is likely to happen if we follow your suggestion, born as it is out of pride and mental unrest. Let me list the many kings allied with Duryodhana. Bhishma, Drona, and Kripa, simply out of obligation, will certainly side with Duryodhana. Then there is Ashvatthama, Karna, Balika, Bhurishrava, and all of Duryodhana's 100 brothers. And there are also hundreds of other kings who would fight alongside the Kauravas because they had been previously defeated by us Pandavas. Duryodhana's treasury is quite full, especially now as he has control of Indraprastha. He could easily and quickly amass a vast army. And on the other hand, We Pandavas have no position, no wealth, no army, and only a few allies. Duryodhana's forces are virtually unassailable. The Kuru chiefs are masters of celestial weapons. I doubt that even Indra and all the gods could vanquish them. But especially I fear Karna, who is impetuous, angry, invincible, accomplished in every weapon, and encased in impenetrable armor. Yudhishthira recalled to mind how Karna had been born with a natural coat of armor on his body. Although he appeared to be the son of a charioteer, it was obvious his origin was in some way divine. But for some reason, Karna harbored a deep envy of Arjuna. Yudhishthira knew well that one day Karna and Arjuna would wage a great battle just to settle their enmity. The skirmish at Draupadi's Swayamvara was nothing. Karna had not wanted to exert himself against someone who he thought was a Brahmana. But if Karna had displayed his full power, then who could be sure that Arjuna would be able to defeat him? Why, just thinking of Karna and the danger he poses, I cannot sleep at night. Without overcoming him, as well as all the other heroes I have mentioned, we will not be able to defeat Duryodhana. O best of men, consider all of this carefully. Hearing Yudhishthira's admonition, Bhima became pensive. Yudhishthira was right, of course, and so Bhima could not argue with him. Although Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and the other kings in Hastinapur had always been their friends and well-wishers, now it was different. If it came to war, they would surely side with the Kauravas. The very thought of fighting against those invincible heroes was daunting, especially because Bhima felt so much affection for them. Bhima sat down, defeated by Yudhishthira's strong arguments. As the Pandavas sat together in silence, Vyasadeva appeared out of the forest. Quickly they stood up and bowed before the rishi. After taking his seat among them, Vyasadeva spoke to Yudhishthira. O mighty armed one, I have divined your thoughts, and I wish to help you. That is why I have come. I will destroy the fever within your mind by telling you how to defeat Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna, Duryodhana, and all of his followers. Listen carefully. Vyasadeva then took Yudhishthira aside, speaking to him privately. He taught him the mystical skill called pratismriti, and then instructed him to teach the same skill to Arjuna. The skill allowed the practitioner to travel great distances within a short time. In this way, Arjuna could go to the Himalayas, approach the gods, and receive from them their special weapons. My dear Yudhishthira, due to his asceticism and prowess, Arjuna is quite capable of approaching the celestials. Indeed, Arjuna is Narayana's eternal associate. Indra, Rudra, and all the principal gods will surely bestow their weapons upon your younger brother, and Arjuna will perform tremendous deeds by receiving them. After giving Yudhishthira the Pratismriti mantras, Vyasadeva left. But just before leaving, Vyasadeva also told Yudhishthira to move to a different forest. Otherwise, the brothers might disturb the animal population in Dvaitavan by hunting them excessively. Having lived there for more than a year, they had killed many deer, tigers, boar, and other wild animals. Accompanied by the Brahmanas whom they were supporting, Yudhishthir and his brothers then moved to another part of the great Kamyaka forest, this time on the banks of the river Sarasvati. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maha-Bharata, Part 1, Chapter 25. Arjuna meets Lord Mahadev. When the Brahmanas determined an auspicious day, Yudhishthir taught Arjuna the Pratismriti mantras. The king had delayed teaching him, as he knew that Arjuna would leave for the Himalayas as soon as he had the knowledge. It certainly would be difficult to live without Arjuna, but it was Vyasadev's desire that he go. So Yudhishthir knew the separation could not be avoided forever. Ultimately, it was probably their only chance to be successful in recovering their kingdom. Taking Arjuna aside, Yudhishthir held him by the hands and said, "O descendant of Bharata, the 4 divisions of the science of arms are held by Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, Karna, and Ashvatthama. They have all received divine instructions and know how to use every sort of weapon. Having been honored, gratified, and supported by Duryodhana, they always seek to do him good. We should not doubt that they will support Duryodhana in battle. The whole world is now under Duryodhana's sway, and he is our avowed enemy. My dear brother, you are the sole refuge of our family. Depending on you, we shall regain our kingdom from Duryodhana. Listen now as I tell you what must be done. Vyasadeva instructed me that you should leave as soon as possible for the Himalayas, and by meditating on the mantras I am now going to repeat to you, you should seek the audience of the gods in order to receive their weapons. So allow me to initiate you today, O virtuous one, and then go at once in order to propitiate Indra Dev. And being pleased with you, I am sure that Indra will give you his weapons, and by his order, so will the other gods." Arjuna fully controlled his mind and senses. Then, with due rituals, Yudhishthir bestowed the Pratismriti mantras upon Arjuna. And when he was finished, Yudhishthir stood up, with tears pricking his eyes, as he thought of separation from Arjuna. "Go now, my dear brother." With his arms and hands clad in iguana skin gloves, and his body covered in golden flexible armor made of interlinking metal rings, Arjuna took up his Gandiva bow and his two inexhaustible quivers and stood ready to depart. Brahmanas and Siddhas uttered blessings upon Arjuna, and not knowing how long he would be gone, Arjuna bade an affectionate farewell to his brothers. And as Arjuna was about to depart, Draupadi came before him and said, "O mighty-armed Dhananjay, may all that the noble Kunti desired at your birth, and all that you yourself desire, be accomplished. May none of us ever take birth again in this terrible Kshatriya order. I offer my respects to the ascetic Brahmanas who are detached from this miserable world. My heart still burns with Duryodhana's insult, but today I grieve even more because you are departing. In your absence, we will spend our time thinking only of you. There will be no joy without you. All our hopes rest in you, O hero. May Krishna and all his energies protect you at all times, and may success be yours. Go now and attain your goal." Arjuna smiled at Draupadi, circumambulated his brothers and Daumya, and then began running swiftly along the path, thus frightening creatures along the way with his speed. By chanting the mantras Yudhishthir had given him, Arjuna felt himself traveling over mountains and forests at the speed of the mind. By the end of the first day, Arjuna arrived at the great Mandara mountain. Arjuna stopped and looked around. The mountain was beautiful, with its bluish stone rising up into the clouds. It was covered with blossoming trees, their many-colored flowers creating rich tableaus, and their scent captivating the mind. The sound of peacocks, cranes, and cuckoos filled the air, and Arjuna could see Siddhas and Charanas sporting on the mountain slopes. Arjuna decided to climb the mountain and begin his austerities there. Upon reaching a plateau high on the mountain, Arjuna suddenly heard a voice resounding in the sky, "Stop!" Arjuna looked around and saw an ascetic sitting at the foot of a tree. The tawny-colored Brahmana had a brilliant aura. His lean body was covered in deerskin, and his matted locks hung down to his shoulders. Then the ascetic spoke. "Oh, child, who are you? You appear to be a Kshatriya. Do you not know that this is the abode of peaceful Brahmanas who are free from anger? Why, even to have been able to reach this spot indicates that you already have attained a high state of purity. Now, perfect your life. You have no need of weapons here. Throw them away." "Oh, my dear Brahmana, I need my weapons to serve my elder brother Yudhishthir, who has been wrongfully deprived of his kingdom, so I will not cast them aside." "O slayer of foes, I am pleased with you. Know me to be your father, Shakra, king of the gods. Now, ask me for a boon." "O exalted one, the boon I desire is that you will bestow upon me all your weapons." "O Dhananjay, I am able to grant you life in the celestial regions of bliss. You should ask for that." Why do you desire only my weapons? How could I possibly incur the condemnation of the world by not avenging myself on the enemy and by abandoning my brothers in the forest? As I remember the treachery of Duryodhana, my anger rises. O child, when you meet the great Lord Shiva, then I will give you all my weapons. Try to propitiate him, for he is the greatest of the gods. By seeing that three-eyed wielder of the trident, all your desires will be fulfilled. After saying this, Indra disappeared, and Arjuna was left alone. He decided to remain where he was and begin his austerities and worship of Mahadev. He took off his armor and set his weapons down by the same tree where Indra had sat. The tree was situated next to a flowing river, and Arjuna bathed in its clear waters and then sat down to meditate. As he did so, conch shells were heard in the sky, and showers of flowers fell from the heavens. Arjuna was pleased by this auspicious sign, and he sat with half-closed eyes, controlling his breathing, and began to intone prayers to Lord Shiva. During the first month of his meditations, Arjuna ate only fruit on every third day. During the second month, Arjuna ate fruit only on every sixth day. And during the third month, he ate fruit once in a fortnight. During the fourth month, he lived only on air, standing on the tips of his toes with his arms upraised. He bathed 3 times a day and kept his mind and senses under perfect control. As a result of his austerities, Arjuna began to glow like the sun. In the heavens, the celestial rishis grew anxious. They approached Lord Shiva and said, "Arjuna has become greatly effulgent due to his austerities on the breast of the Himalayas. The earth is becoming heated by his asceticism and is sending forth smoke. O chief of the gods, you should stop him before he upsets the universal order by the power of his penance. O celestials, you need not feel anxiety on account of Falguni. He does not wish to attain heaven or prosperity. I know his purpose and will satisfy him today." The rishis bowed down before Shiva and returned to their own abodes. Mahadev then assumed the form of a tall, powerful, golden-hued hunter and descended upon the place where Arjuna was meditating. Shiva's consort Uma accompanied him in a similar costume, and many of Shiva's goblin followers, who assumed various forms and wore bright garments, followed them. Many of the female goblins assumed the forms of beautiful women and also descended. And as Lord Shiva appeared on the mountainside with his followers, the mountain seemed ablaze with beauty. Strangely, however, all nature became silent. Even the springs and waterfalls ceased their sounds. As Shiva arrived, he saw a Danava assume the form of a boar and charge at Arjuna. The demon intended to kill Arjuna, and he roared loudly in challenge. Arjuna heard the boar's roar and quickly lifted and strung his bow. Placing a virulent arrow on his bowstring, Arjuna called out, "I have done you no harm, so as you seek to kill me, certainly I shall send you to the abode of Yamaraj." But at the same moment, Lord Shiva also trained his arrow on the boar and shouted to Arjuna, "Stop! This dark-colored boar is mine. I saw him first and have already aimed my arrow at him." Arjuna ignored Shiva's claim and released his arrow, which sped toward the massive boar. Simultaneously, Shiva released his arrow, and the two shafts both struck the Danava at the same time. There was a sound like thunder as the arrows hit the demon boar's rock-like body. Now, assuming his natural form, the demon gave up his life with a terrible cry. Arjuna then looked around at the hunter. His body shone like a golden mountain. He was surrounded by hundreds of women. Arjuna simply glared at him. "Who are you, dressed like a hunter and wandering in this solitary forest, surrounded by your followers? Are you not afraid? Why have you pierced this boar, which I targeted first? Do you not know that this is against all accepted practices in hunting? Indeed, you have insulted me, and so I will punish you by taking your life." "Oh, hero, you need not be concerned about me. I always dwell in the forest. But what brings you here? Obviously, you are royalty. You are used to living in luxury. So how is it that you have adopted the life of an ascetic?" "Depending on the strength of my arms, I live in this forest. See now how I killed this fearful Rakshasa who was intent on killing me." "It was I who killed this Rakshasa, not you. I saw him first, and it was by my arrow that he was sent to the abode of Yamaraj. You are overly proud of your strength. Do not accuse others when you yourself are at fault. O wicked-minded wretch, you have wronged me and will therefore not escape with your life. Now stand and receive my arrows. Try to defend yourself if you can." Infuriated, Arjuna immediately struck the hunter with a cluster of swift arrows. But Shiva simply smiled and received Arjuna's shafts without even flinching. Then he called out, "You wretch! Send your fiercest arrows, those that are capable of piercing the heart." Arjuna released another volley of shafts. Becoming angry, Shiva sent back hundreds of his own arrows. A great battle then ensued. Showers of snake-like arrows sped back and forth. As Arjuna countered the hunter's arrows, he was surprised to see that although struck by countless shafts, his adversary was not affected. Arjuna increased the force of his attack, but the hunter remained unmoved. Seeing that he could not shake his bow, Arjuna called out in admiration, "Excellent! Bravo! Well done!" Arjuna now looked with wonder at this hunter. Clearly, this was not an ordinary man. No one could withstand the force of thousands of arrows shot from his Gandiva without being moved. Perhaps this hunter was a celestial. Arjuna then decided to use his mystical weapons. No matter who this was, even if he was a Gandharva or a Yaksha, unless this hunter was actually himself Lord Shiva, Arjuna intended to kill him. Arjuna then invoked weapons which fired thousands of arrows blazing like the sun. Shiva cheerfully received all his shafts, just as a mountain receives a downpour of rain. Then, to Arjuna's amazement, he found that his celestial quivers were suddenly exhausted. How was this possible? Who was this who swallowed up all his arrows? With what could he fight now? Arjuna raised his great bow like a club and rushed towards the hunter. Arjuna struck him a number of heavy blows, but the hunter snatched away his bow and drew it into his body. It simply vanished. Arjuna then drew his sword and brought it down upon the hunter's head with all of his strength, but it simply shattered to pieces. Arjuna was now afraid, but he continued to fight. This time, he lifted rocks and boulders and threw them at the hunter. He tore up trees and slung them. Still, he made no impression. Arjuna's mouth smoked with wrath. He rushed at his foe and pummeled him with his fists. Shiva struck him back, and a hand-to-hand fight then ensued. They struck one another and grappled furiously, each seizing the other and shoving him with full force. Sparks and smoke flew from their bodies. Finally, the hunter released Arjuna, and Arjuna fell back, dazed, almost unconscious. Arjuna looked at the hunter in astonishment. He had failed to make the least impression upon him. Surely this must be the exalted god, Lord Shiva, for no one else could have fought with such power. Arjuna retreated to a distance and quickly fashioned an image of Shiva from earth. He worshipped it with flowers, and as he did so, he saw flowers falling onto the hunter's head. Now there was no doubt. This was the deity he was seeking. Arjuna fell headlong at Shiva's feet, and as he did so, he felt all his fatigue dispelled. Shiva was pleased with Arjuna and spoke to him in a voice as powerful as roaring clouds. "O Falguni, today you have satisfied me. There is no warrior equal to you in courage or patience. O best of the Bharata race, your strength is practically equal to mine. Formerly you were a rishi, and now you have taken birth to serve Krishna's purposes. Soon you will acquire the weapons with which to defeat your enemies, even if they be celestials. Now I shall bestow upon you my own irresistible weapon, and I will give you the eyes to see me in my original form. Behold!" Arjuna looked up and saw Lord Shiva with his 3 eyes, holding a trident and a divine serpent draped around his bluish neck. Arjuna bowed down and prayed. "O great God, O highly exalted one, you are the refuge of all the celestials. This very universe has sprung from you. You are a transformation of Lord Vishnu in a different form and are unconquerable by gods, demons, or men. O Shankara, pray, forgive me. It was only to receive your audience that I came to this mountain. Please pardon me for my rashness in fighting with you. I now seek your protection." Lord Shiva lifted Arjuna to his feet and embraced him. "Yes, I pardon you. You are Nara, the friend of Narayana. Previously, the 2 of you chastised the demon hordes at the coronation of King Indra. Sri Krishna is that original supreme Narayana, and with him you will again punish the wicked. O Partha, take back your Gandiva bow. Your quivers will again become inexhaustible. There is no man on earth equal to you. Now, ask from me whatever you desire. O Lord, if you are indeed pleased with me, then humbly I ask you that you bestow upon me your irresistible personal weapon known as Pashupata. You destroyed the universe with that weapon at the end of creation, and with it I may be victorious over Rakshasas, Danavas, Gandharvas, Nagas, ghosts, and spirits. Your Pashupata will enable me to emerge successfully from the battle, that I shall fight against Bhishma, Drona, Kripa, and the son of the Sutta, Karna. Yes, O son of Kunti, I give you this weapon. You are capable of holding, throwing, and withdrawing it. Not even Indra, Yama, Kubera, or Varuna knows the mantras to this weapon, what to speak of any mortal man. However, you must use the Pashupata only against celestial fighters. The Pashupata should never be released at lesser enemies, or else it may destroy the entire creation. This weapon is discharged by the mind, eyes, words, or bow, and no one within the three worlds of moving or non-moving creatures can withstand the force of my Pashupata. Then Arjuna bathed himself for purification and stood before Lord Shiva in order to receive the mantras. Mahadev gave his weapon to Arjuna, and it then waited upon Arjuna just as it waits upon Lord Shiva himself. And when the celestials saw the fearful weapon standing in its embodied form by the side of Arjuna, the whole earth trembled and terrible winds blew in all directions. Thousands of conch shells and trumpets were heard resounding in the sky. Then Lord Shiva said, "Now go to heaven and receive Indra's weapons." Lord Shiva then departed along with Uma and his many followers. Namaste Narasimhaya Prahlad Aklad Dayane Hiranya Kashi Puravaksha Shilatanka Nakalai Ito Narsingha Bharato Narsingho Yato Yamitato Narsingha Bahi Narsingho Hridaye Narsingho Narsingham Ading Sharanang Prapadye Shabakara Kamalabare Nakham Adbhuta Sringam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Keshavadrita Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Keshavadrita Nrsimha Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha, Jaya Jagadisha, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hari Harayi Namaha.